Well, good morning, afternoon, and evening to everyone, depending on where you are. Welcome to our webcast, Make an Immediate Impact in Medical Tourism in Your Career. My name is Bill Cook. I'm a trainer and surveyor for the Medical Tourism Association's Global Patient Programs. Here at the Medical Tourism Association, we're excited to share with you an overview of our Certified Medical Tourism Professional Program and why we believe it can impact your job, your business, and I think especially your customers. I started in medical tourism probably, I'd say, nearly a decade ago, and I know if I would have had a program like this to really jumpstart my career, it would have saved me a lot of time, expense, and I think even errors, to be honest. So really, in my experience, the medical tourism industry has really matured. The patients and other buyers of healthcare are looking right now for professionals who can consistently deliver a superior patient experience. And I think regardless of whether you are a medical tourism facilitator here attending or participating with us today, a physician, maybe an international patient assistant at a hospital, a travel agent even, I think the CMTP program will provide you with the knowledge and the tools to do so. So I would like to introduce you now to our two presenters. We have Mary Miller and Stephen Shear. Mary Miller is the program director of MTA's International Patient Services Certification, and she's also managing partner at Improve Global. She possesses over 10 years of experience in the daily management of international healthcare facilities, international business development, proven leadership and change management, and the implementation of continuous quality improvement models in various countries. Miller focuses primarily on the process and structural factors influencing long-term sustainability for improvement models unique and realistic for individual countries or facilities. Miller is considered an expert in quality improvement, cultural competency, and the patient experience. She has worked in over 20 countries spanning 4 continents, whether with national health leaders or individual medical professionals. Her ability to communicate, collaborate, and achieve results has positioned her as one of the world's best niche leaders in healthcare improvement for developing and emerging markets. Mary is also considered an expert in the field of medical tourism, specifically in best practices, international standards, and the development of international departments, international patient service programs. Miller presents across the globe on these topics and is consistently working with multiple clients to enable improved market penetration or improved operational processes. We also have with us Stephen Shear. He's a healthcare quality consultant and a certified trainer and surveyor. Stephen joined the MTA as a CMTP trainer and IPSC, that's our International Patient Services Certification, surveyor in 2014. Stephen has helped over 200 healthcare organizations either attain or maintain Joint Commission accreditation. Stephen has also been a member of the Joint Commission's clinical facility. He is a certified Joint Commission professional. He has provided healthcare consultation for over 35 years throughout the healthcare continuum, from outpatient services to rehab services to hospitals. Stephen enjoys working in international healthcare settings and has lived and worked in Japan, Saudi Arabia, and Indonesia. He has visited over 63 countries. Well, I guess I'll turn it over to Mary and Stephen now.
Thank you, Bill, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone that has joined us today for this valuable webcast. As Bill said, I have a number of years in the medical tourism space and in the management of healthcare organizations, and being part of this Certified Medical Tourism Program from a leadership and educational standpoint has been something that's been very satisfying in my own career. And then also being able to work with professionals like Bill and Stephen. We are literally constantly on a daily, monthly, quarterly basis evaluating how to make our educational products really the best products available for individuals like yourself. And what CMTP represents is a body of knowledge, whether you are a seasoned healthcare executive, such as a CEO or a chief financial officer or a director of nursing, or you are peripheral to direct care in the sense that you might work in the tourism industry, you may work in the insurance industry, or even hospitality to some extent. This is a body of knowledge that any professional remotely related to the medical tourism industry should know and consistently know over time. And just to start, I would love to get Stephen's feedback. He recently was in Vienna giving one of our CMTP workshops there. And maybe, Stephen, you can just summarize your experience to give the participants today a little bit of insight as to what we'll be talking about and what was the feedback from your experience.
Good morning, Mary, and thank you. This is Stephen, and as Mary mentioned, we just had a CMTP class in Vienna, Austria that I was privileged to be part of, along with Dr. Ali Koka. We co-presented. And I just want to go back for a minute to say when Bill was talking about how CMTP would have helped him early on in his career. 2 years ago, I took the CMTP course for the first time, and Mary presented. And what I found was not only was the information really helpful about the history of medical tourism and best practices, but I thought that the questions that the audience asked and the discussions that really started was very valuable too. And I think, again, with the experience we had in Austria is that we have very different group of participants. We had some people from tourism boards and people from spas and hotels, and we had several physicians. And I think that for the physicians in the audience, it's very helpful for them to hear from facilitators and other people about what their interests are. And then we had some very good discussions with the physicians about kind of discussing what the role of a doctor would be in a hospital or with an individual facilitator. So I thought it was a very successful class, and the classes, I think, are successful mostly because the participants really become involved. So we had really good discussions.
Wonderful. Thank you, Stephen. We have moved on to our second slide, which is what is CMTP? So Certified Medical Tourism Professional Designation is an individual designation of expertise in medical tourism and international patient management provided by the Medical Tourism Association, which is the organization we all represent, those of who are speaking to you today. The Medical Tourism Association has different levels of the individual designation, and that does differ based on your number of years in the medical tourism space. We do have a more advanced designation, which is the Certified Medical Tourism Specialist, and that designation comes into play once you have or can verify that you have had 3 years of professional experience in the medical tourism space. However, today we'll be talking specifically about the CMTP designation, which anyone presenting to you in that in terms of that material, we all have that designation, and of course play more advanced roles in the overall quality of the content delivered. The Medical Tourism Association also has organizational designations such as the International Patient Services Certification Program. And a lot of times for different hospitals around the world, we will do a combined training that for individuals in the organizations as well as a larger training related to international patient services management with our organizational certification. And Stephen, if you will please enlighten our audience today about the history of CMTP.
I think that, when we look at the slide about the history of CMTP, it goes back even further than that. When the Medical Tourism Association was first doing its conferences and all, and people kept asking questions about, well, what are the standards and what are some agreed upon principles that medical tourism professionals should be using. I think out of that and lots of discussions, people agreed that we needed to have agreed upon kind of principles that would be in a course. And so Medical Tourism Association developed the CMTP course. So I think that's, the genesis is people had a lot of questions. And I think that through the course, and we've had several major revisions, and we've just had our most recent revisions we had in Vienna. I think that we've seen the growth of the industry, and I think that there's more agreement than ever before about some basic principles. For example, we really emphasize in the CMTP class the importance of transparency, that medical tourism professionals or facilitators, it's very important that we build trust with our clients, and we're very transparent about all issues, including money, finance, the services that can be provided, transparency on the level of expertise of the professionals. So I think as you see this history going along, we've trained more and more people. And what Mary and I have talked about, and Bill also, is that for us as presenters, to me, the courses become more and more challenging because the participants in the audience have a much higher level of expertise than people did 4, 6 years ago. So the class is more interesting. I think the participants bring interesting stories in. So I say that, to me, the history of the CMTP, it will continue to change, continue to grow, because the business continues to change and continues to grow. Mary?
Wonderful. Thank you, Stephen. Yes, I think Stephen gave a wonderful description of the history of CMTP. And one thing I'd really like to point out with these particular points highlighted is that the team of professionals that is continuously working to evolve this program and the set of trainers that we have, they're really professionals that love being involved in this, which we think plays a very instrumental role in the end experience or overall satisfaction that anyone would receive in our workshops, and more importantly, the ongoing value that you will continuously experience by holding the CMTP designation. And also, one point to mention here with the history of CMTP, since created in 2012, one thing that has moved along the developmental timeline simultaneously to the points mentioned here is the fact that, yes, you hold a designation, but you also will have a continuous window into the world of MTA resources and all of the different benefits of being part of the Medical Tourism Association. And the organization is really the thought leader, the data leader, as well as the innovation leader in the medical tourism industry. The number of governments we work with, the number of private industries, private organizations in the private healthcare industry that we work with in different regions around the world, it really helps us maintain a current working knowledge of where potential challenges or barriers or opportunities might be from a business standpoint. So we really have the ability on an ongoing basis to answer your questions in a very informed and educated manner that will ultimately impact your individual goals or your organizational goals positively.
Mary, if I can add, I think an example of current issues is around the world at any given time there are civil unrest issues, or there are communicable disease issues, or different kinds of things that come up. And I know in Vienna we had a good discussion about some of the thinking on Zika virus and how that could affect medical tourism. So we have very current topics that we're always willing to vet and discuss, and that makes the course, I think, especially relevant and important, and different participants contribute really great answers.
Yes, very much so, Stephen. And just another point to add to that is the fact that, Stephen made the point of relevant experience and relevant stories and relevant answers, is that any business model, any business interest, I would be very hard pressed to say the Medical Tourism Association has not had a discussion about it to someone, or help someone work through something, or evaluated something with them. So, if you can think of it, more than likely we've seen it in some part of the world. if you're coming from more of the individual or entrepreneurial mindset into the medical tourism space. Now, the actual certification process is a pretty simple path, but of course it starts with an application, and that of course takes down basic demographic information about an individual, and then from that application you will then participate in a live or online training. One of the most highly attended live trainings is our annual Congress, and that in particular, we typically have an audience of somewhere between 100 to 200 people annually, and we've done that, of course, since 2012. And that's often one of our most dynamic environments because we typically have the most number of trainers there. And in particular, we love live settings because as trainers, we can really manage the room to help the audience members benefit from one another and really interact off of their individual interests, questions, and answers. And then, of course, after the live training, everyone would be required to take an online exam. And typically that is a 100-question test. And we have designed that, from a critical thinking standpoint. But in essence, if you are engaged in the live training or the online training and are able to reference the material provided to you, we always expect someone to do exceptionally well on that. And then, of course, upon passing your exam, the individual certification would be awarded. Stephen, would there be any other points
I was
to
going
add?
to mention, Mary, I think that what we're very proud of is that with our most recent updates, the manual that you'll receive when you take the course is very comprehensive. And when you take the exam, it's an open book test. So you'll have the manual that you got in the live training that you did. But also I think the manual to me is a really good reference that you can share with your peers and that you can use when you go back to your work as a reference on best practices and all kinds of resources. And we update that continuously. So I think it's just a very strong product also.
Wonderful. Now, we know today we have a number of different individuals from around the world taking part in this webcast, and we anticipate that you also have, a lot of different profiles. So, of course, please, throughout mine and Stephen's comments, we encourage you to use the chat box, and we will have a question and answer period towards the end of our webcast. But in particular, who should get certified? And this is important because it's often important to ask questions from your position because there are other profiles around you that might actually benefit from what your interests are, what your goals are, and what your questions are. So essentially, any professional whose profession or position impacts medical travelers is a candidate to get certified. And what we mean by impacts medical travelers, we also mean any profession or position that impacts the overall medical traveler, health traveler, or patient experience. And of course, that can start as soon as someone lands on your website to the point of when they actually are discharged from a facility or their services have been concluded and they potentially, they leave the destination. Stephen, would you like to go into detail about these individual descriptions?
Well, I wanted to mention, Mary, you'd said about landing on the website, and we do spend a lot of time in the CMTP course discussing the importance of websites and the importance of connectivity, that if the outside person has a difficult time navigating your website, they might get the opinion that, gee, if the website isn't convenient, how convenient will accessing your services be? So we spend a lot of time, for example, talking about the benefits of having, set kinds of text that you would have when somebody calls up, responses that you'll have, response cards. So I think that's an important part. Also, Mary mentioned about the different people who would get certified. In our Puerto Rico certification, we had many dentists who wanted to become certified with their program, but we also worked with them individually. So just because it says healthcare professionals, that could be physicians, nurses, doctors, anybody who's involved with healthcare, I think, will find out that the CMTP course gives them a lot of tools that they might not have been familiar with. So I could say the audiences that we have in the classes vary tremendously. We have plenty of travel agents and people who are involved with the hospitality, hotels, those kinds of groups. And then, as I mentioned, in Vienna, we had several people from spas who really wanted to learn a lot more about how they fit into the bigger picture of medical tourism.
Yes, thank you, Stephen. And just to further emphasize this point, we have often seen the most, value-added training environments where different profiles are present. And the CMTP live trainings really allow you to do that. And then, of course, even if you're not able to participate in a live training and do the online training, as soon as you're certified, you get into that world of MTA resources and our network of people. And, of course, individuals like myself and Stephen and Bill, we're always available to help answer questions and ultimately help advocate for your success. So just a small slide spent on who are some of our instructors, and I'm going to read or describe from left to right. We have Dr. Ali Koka. He is in Germany. His background is, of course, clinical, but he's also spent a significant amount of time in the pharmaceutical industry working on many different training projects for physicians and other clinical engagement environments. And he's also very much focused in our European efforts. We also have Anuja Agrawal. She is our technology expert, also has been involved in a number of different capacity building matters in the technology space, and also has her own private products in the medical tourism or international healthcare space that are really exceptional. And one of the things, before I continue to describe everyone here, is the fact that you're not looking at anyone right now that does not also have practical ongoing experience. So we are also your peers in this business industry. Mr. Bill Cook, who you just heard at the beginning of our presentation, he said he had over a decade of experience, and I really want to highlight the fact that Bill, as well as Brad and Gloriana, the next two individuals to the right, these three really should be credited with a lot of success in Costa Rica as it relates to the medical tourism industry. The three of them, as well as their colleagues and some of their private business matters and their interaction with the Medical Tourism Association, has been really exceptional and a wonderful case study for the world. Then, of course, myself, and then Mr. Stephen Shearer, who by far is probably one of, if not the dynamic trainers I've ever worked with, and really understands how to engage an audience and really how to extract out their needs and their goals for that training environment. So we certainly hope we can all interact with you in a live setting, but if not, certainly pursue the online setting, and we are, of course, all readily available to answer any additional questions related to your individual goals or your organizational goals.
Can I mention also, Mary, that Bill Cook, Brad Cook, and Gloriana Gomez also do courses in Spanish, so they are part of our bilingual team.
Yes, and I should also mention, that's a great point, Stephen. I'm glad you brought that up. Dr. Ali Koka is also fluent in Turkish and German and Portuguese. So, and we are also expanding out this team to address additional language needs on a more consistent basis. That would be including Mandarin, Chinese, as well as Italian and French. Stephen, would you like to go into describing the 9 modules that we currently provide in our training?
Sure. The first one is an introduction to medical tourism, and knowing that that's the basis of everything we do, it's very important that that we get some discussion about that. It's always interesting how far back medical tourism goes, which is a long ways. Then we talk about the business models, because in the second module, there's many business models all around the world. That's why it's exciting to know who's on this call today. I know we have people from Malaysia and Saudi Arabia and Mexico, for example, and each area, it's always interesting when people describe it, how their model's different. We have some people who are individual facilitators. We have people who represent clinics. We have people who represent hospitals, all of which are very interesting models, and looking at the international marketplace, how all those changes. Module 3, operational protocols and services. We just talk about how different people approach policies, procedures that are needed to have a successful medical tourism program. Facilitation of care, we talk about really how we implement the care that we provide. Payers, it's interesting that all around the world there's different payer mixes. Many of you out there experience private pay. Some of you have insurance companies that you work with. There's self-insured companies in the United States that can pick and choose. For example, when we did a buyer's group to China, we had a woman who was representing a Native American or First People tribe in the United States, and she can choose with her tribal members where they would go all over the world. And she, for example, she's had her tribal members go to Peru for treatment. She's had tribal members go to France for treatment. So different payer mix. Marketing, Module 6, we have very lively discussions about different people who are attending the program, how they market differently and the approaches that they use. Then managing risks and events, Module 7, we really talk about how important it is that each organization, each individual, think about, are they ready for the next event that could happen? It could be a natural disaster, it could be floods, it could also be a local kind of civil unrest issue, or as I mentioned, Zika virus or some other communicable disease. So we really encourage individuals to take the class to be looking at what kinds of things should they prepare for. And then Module 8, nothing gets more important than Module 8 with the patient experience. We talk a lot about how do we improve the patient experience. We emphasize the importance of controlling the patient experience. From the moment someone gets to your web page, how you control their experience, and if they come to visit your program or your country, who picks them up at the airport, how they get to the hotel, all of those individual steps add up to whether or not the patient has a positive experience. And then the last module is really talking about different medical tourism models, how each organization or each country regionally has different expectations. So I think that's a brief overview of the 9 modules we have in the CMTP course.
Wonderful. Thank you, Stephen. And a few points I'd like to add to Stephen's description of the 9 modules is that anytime you see the word module with the Medical Tourism Association, what we're also emphasizing is the word competency. So for the Certified Medical Tourism Professional designation, what we're communicating here with these 9 modules is that this is also 9 competencies. And of course, the exam that you would be required to take to be awarded your designation and obtain a passing score would mean that you have a basic competency or a basic proficiency in these competencies. And also another point to add is the fact that, just recently, we were in Vienna, and that particular market has different interests based on EU directives than, let's say, a market in the Dominican Republic, or we'll be doing another live workshop in Malaysia the end of April. And, we've done workshops in the United States as well as the Caribbean, others in South America, in the Middle East. And we also take the time as trainers to ensure that the material presented, especially in a live setting, is really catered to the interest of the audience, and we give examples and references that make sense to them and that are applicable to them. So we're very much aware of the fact that, although the Medical Tourism Association corporate office is based in the United States, we do not always reference what is going on in the United States because a lot of places around the world, a lot of countries, the regulatory framework and certain components of the healthcare industry do not easily reconcile or translate to what's going on in that environment. So we really try to have a very global perspective as well as a very intimate perspective on that particular audience's needs as well as your individual needs. Now, what is the value of the CMTP designation? Why is it even worth doing? Why spend more time than this webcast and prioritizing this in your professional life? Well, first and foremost, we believe you can achieve a competitive edge in the market. Knowledge is power, and what we're providing you is knowledge, a knowledge base that's consistently current with the trends in the medical tourism industry, and as well as what are the best practices. And when we say best practices, what we're also referencing are our international patient services standards. Which with that, we're on our 3rd version, and again, I'm speaking to our organizational designation, that being International Patient Services Certification. But, we are one organization, that being the MTA, and all of our educational products really work together and benefit each other in terms of constantly being what the industry needs and what professionals like yourself need. 2, we believe you will achieve increased visibility and respect from industry stakeholders. 3, you're validating your commitment to excellence in consumers. The Medical Tourism Association, and I know Stephen and myself, we're the type of individuals and organizations in the healthcare industry that believe you can never do enough for a patient, and you can never do enough for a medical tourist. So in that sense, all of our competencies, all of our modules, all of our best practices really speak to what you are doing in the best interest and how you're doing it as it relates to impacting the overall medical tourism experience for an individual. And then finally, we do believe that this helps enhance your career and creates opportunities for job promotion. So I would say in the past 18 months, throughout our travels and training experiences and different projects, we have been able to see where certain organizations are looking for this designation. They're looking for that designation to help grow an international department or to help increase capacity inside of their organization, and or in more private organizations or interests, they want this designation to be able to start a particular venture. Stephen, is there anything else you would add here to the value of CMTP?
I would mention that, Mary, you mentioned before that we had done the training in the Middle East, and on the value of CMTP, I was one of the presenters in Jordan that we had last year, and as part of that process, I visited 3 hospitals before the training, and it really helped give a context that after going to the 3 hospitals, we had several of those individuals who participated in the training. It really enhanced the dialogue that we had, and I think that you'll find that we attend trainings before the CMTP and conferences, and we really tailor the CMTP, I think, to the participants in the audience. And for example, with Jordan, we had representatives from a group called Arab Wings, and it's really and it's an airline that does emergency flights and works with medical tourists in a very different capacity. So I just want to emphasize that we really work for you to give you an experience with CMTP that I think is very personal.
Wonderful. A few practical points in which you can apply your new skills. You can facilitate the appropriate policies and services in your organization in order to effectively attract and serve international patients. Start or get hired to work with a medical tourism facilitator company. So essentially, you're making yourself more attractive to a potential employer or collaborator or partner. Because again, this comes back to having a knowledge set that others do not. Expand your travel agent services to include medical travel. So feel more comfortable about venturing into a new line of business. Improve the services and protocols in your healthcare facilities International Patient Services Center, or help start an International Patient Center. Become a key participant in improving the patient experience in your organization. So you really have an opportunity through this knowledge set to serve as a champion for the patient experience, for the medical tourism experience in your organization or within your own business. Develop effective marketing campaigns to attract international patients to your organization. And as Stephen mentioned earlier, we do spend some time talking about marketing, and we really do drill down into what's appropriate in your market and what's interesting in your market and really what engages potential consumers, not only in your market, but the markets that you're targeting. Stephen, is there anything else you'd like to add here?
No, I think you've covered everything.
Wonderful. So here we have a few FAQs, or frequently asked questions, regarding certification. In relation to these FAQs, Stephen, would you like to touch on where to access training?
Well, before, like for example, on Malaysia, we publicize the training as part of conferences that are happening, like the one in Malaysia. Also, you can go on to online with Medical Tourism Association, and you can always find out the next dates for our training.
Wonderful. And also where to access training. We have an individual who is participating or present in our webcast today. Her name is Amelia Fernandez. Her information will be provided in the next couple of slides. She's also a wonderful resource regarding FAQs with the CMTP program. Cost of CMTP, specifically online trainings historically have been not online trainings, but our live trainings have ranged anywhere from $800 to $1,500. It depends on volume of participants. It depends on the contractual arrangement with a particular group. But of course, our online training is something that at times could be a fixed cost or discounted based on a particular situation or event in that sense. The exam process in general is an online exam. All of the information provided to you will give very clear instructions on how to access that exam. It's a secure site. It's a very user-friendly site. And then also getting your certificate upon passing your exam, that's also a very seamless process, and an individual like Amelia within the Medical Tourism Association will be able to send that to you and or make sure that you're able to access that. So why should you get certified? CMTP is recognized as the global standard in the medical tourism certification and business, for a lack of better words. Currently, over 500 professionals from 60 countries have undergone CMTP training, including medical tourism facilitators, hospital CEOs, medical directors, physicians, healthcare facility staff, dentists, hospitality professionals, and more. And another point that I really want to emphasize here with this particular point is the fact that there are obviously competitive products out there. However, there is no other product that has the professionals involved in managing the quality of the content, the integrity of our program, and then fundamentally advocating for you. And really helping you understand what's going on in the medical tourism space and working with you in the way that we do to ensure that you are putting your CMTP designation to work in the best path, down the best path that's ultimately going to help you see value in that designation. You have an opportunity to get advanced medical tourism training. So CMTP training focuses on practical insights that you can literally apply today and improve your business or career. As we've mentioned a number of times, our curriculum was developed and is presented by experts in different areas of the healthcare industry and medical tourism industry, of course. You have access to MTA membership benefits. You get a 2-year MTA membership and access to educational and marketing resources. You're listed on the MTA website and medicaltourism.com, which is our consumer portal. And then, of course, there's a huge convenience factor. As we've mentioned, and Stephen has, of course, described in a recent live training, we can do it live or anytime via our online digital platform. And then, of course, as we've offered and described, we have the ability to help customize to your individual market for our live trainings. Stephen, any other points you would add here?
No, I think that's good.
Wonderful. So what are a few others saying in terms of those that have gone through our training? So, for example, Karen McSorley, a practice director, being a certified medical tourism professional gives a patient confidence. It means that there are certain qualifications that you've had to meet so that you can better meet their needs. As I've mentioned before, all of us on the call today, talking on the webcast, talking to you today, we really believe you can't do enough for the medical tourist. And our program starts you down a path that really enhances your knowledge set to be able to do that. We have a few upcoming CMTP workshops, and the specific details of these are listed. On April 21st, we'll be in Malaysia. June 14th to the 15th, Bulgaria. And then, of course, September 27th, 28th, which is also held during our annual Congress, will be in Washington, D.C. this year. You can go to medicaltourismcongress.com to find out more information specifically about the Congress and the CMTP workshop. And then we'll finally be in Abu Dhabi towards the end of the year, November 21st. I'm just noticing a question related, do you do training in the Caribbean? The answer to your question is absolutely and yes. We will be holding a CMTP workshop most likely in Puerto Rico the end of June. And if not Puerto Rico, or in addition to, we will likely be holding one in the British Virgin Islands. But of course, please contact Amelia. Her contact information is listed on this slide, or myself, Mary, at medicaltourismassociation.com. And if there's a particular interest in holding a CMTP workshop in an area, absolutely we would consider Jamaica. We have a lot of active conversations going on in Jamaica. So contact us and we can discuss that further. Now at this point in time, Stephen and I would love to open the floor, or the webcast, I should say, to individual questions you may have. Please explain or type your questions in the chat box, and we will take the remaining time to answer any questions we may have. Stephen, is there anything you'd like to add?
I just look forward to seeing many of you in Malaysia. That would be great, and I would encourage you to sign up early so you can make sure that you get a place.
And this is Bill here. Mary and Stevens, I have some of the questions here that I put together, some of them that have come through. One question here: I am a senior nurse in Taiwan and I'm hoping to go into facilitation. What is your suggestion for a first step? Either Stephen or Mary would like to answer.
Well, I'll take that. It's great that you're on the call today. Appreciate you being there. I think that a healthcare professional, a nurse would be great for you to see. I know in Taiwan in Taipei there's several medical tourism facilities and people involved in that. I would visit those programs. I would understand the model of how people get into that, how they find out about that service, and then look at what you think your role would be. As a nurse, do you want to be an independent facilitator who helps people get care? Or do you want to take a model, an idea that you have, to a dental practice or to a clinical service? So I would definitely visit several programs to see how people do their work.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. Another question here that came through, and maybe Mary would like to answer this. Someone asked, is this CMTP, the certification, is it approved all over the world?
I would answer that in two ways per se. For all intents and purposes, yes, because the MCA has a global audience. In terms of the individual recognition of CMTP, that can fluctuate based on each country. And what I mean by that is we do not have CMTP specifically integrated into a particular legal or license recognition into any regulatory framework for healthcare professionals in any country. So in that sense, we are recognized throughout the world. We have over 500 licensees holders in many different places. So although it's not a legal license in a particular country or a market per se, it is still recognized. So to answer your question simply, the answer is yes.
Thank you, Mary. One other question here. We have somebody asking, how do they apply online for the online certification? What steps do they need to do to apply for an online training?
If Amelia is on the line, would she like to maybe comment here?
Let me see if she's...
I see her. She would just need to unmute herself.
Okay, well, maybe while she's, we get Amelia on, let's go to another question.
No? Hello?
Okay, Amelia.
Hi. Hi, sorry about that. Figuring out to unmute. Yeah, you can just go to medicaltourismcertification.com. And there you'll be able to apply directly on there and start the certification right away. There's like a blue button at the top that says Enroll Now, so you can start right away and have that option to go ahead and sign up. The standard price for the online certification is $1,500.
Amelia, can you give that website address again for that link?
Sure, it's medicaltourismcertification.com. See if I can send that in the...
Well, and just to draw everyone's attention back to the slide, if you look at the bottom of the slide, the website is actually listed there, medicaltourismcertification.com.
Yes, that has all the information, and then that Enroll Now button, or if you have any questions about the program, feel free to contact me. I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
Thank you, Amelia. I think we've got another question here, maybe either Stephen or Amelia. How long does the training take? Is it one day or more?
The live training is about 8 hours, and I believe that when we do the course in Washington, D.C., we're actually going to break it up into 4 hours one day and 4 hours the next.
Okay. Thank you, Stephen. Another question, I'm a travel agent. How can CMTP help me transition my business to medical tourism? Mary would like to take that? Or?
Sure, I'll take that. I believe there was an earlier point mentioned that, as a travel agent, you're able to develop out a new niche. And what that means is that specifically for a travel agent business, what CMTP does for you is it helps you understand probably some of your vulnerabilities and what you don't know, or things that you might have to put in place to make sure that you adequately are in a position to answer questions and or build the appropriate relationships so you actually have a product to sell. So in that sense, I would say from the travel agent standpoint, we really help give you a basic knowledge of the healthcare industry as it relates to the medical touristic experience, and then through essentially your questions or your potential interest in the market, that's where we can, fine-tune helping you map out your entry plan and help understand some of your vulnerabilities so you can prioritize addressing those prior to starting in that niche.
Thank you, Mary. Going on, another question. We have a small dental practice. Should we get certified through your International Patient Services Certification, IPS, or through the CMTP that we've talked about today?
I'll take this question. So, to some extent it depends on your business goals, but our International Patient Services Certification Program, that being our organizational certification designation, we actually have 4 categories, and that is hospital, ambulatory, laboratory, or diagnostic center. So your center would specifically fall under our ambulatory category, and in doing that, we can do a combined CMTP training with that. I would encourage your organization to go through training if your interest in the medical tourism space go beyond your own. If you are the owner, go beyond your personal interest. If it's something you want to operationalize into your dental practice, I would highly encourage you to go through the International Patient Services Certification Training and certification site visit.
Thank you, Mary. We got several other questions, so I think we got a lot of interest generated with this work with this presentation. One person is asking, is there any pre-qualification required to take the CMTP certification, and are there any workshops planned in India?
Well, no, there's no pre-qualifications to take the course. Your only qualification is that you're interested in medical tourism. And I don't know, Amelia, if there's anything Amelia wants to mention about. I don't know of any scheduled courses in India.
We don't have any dates finalized, but we are working with some partners to try and work out a hopefully in the near future to have a workshop in India. But if you are interested in hosting a workshop, please let me know. But hopefully we can announce dates soon.
Thank you, Amelia. Another question here. My company wholesales medical supplies, and we offer various discount programs such as travel, hotels, cruises, and other resources that relate to health and travel. Would my company qualify as a member, and do we need to get certified? Mary would like to take this.
I would say if you had a pool of individuals in your organization, 1 to 5, it doesn't sound like the entire organization would need to get certified, but something where you would want individuals in your organization to focus on this initiative, I would say absolutely. We can do group packages with our training. And potentially it could be a unique setting where we find a location to come to you and do that training. Your business model is slightly different than our traditional audience member, but that doesn't mean it's not possible. We've worked with a lot of different peripheral or ancillary individuals or organizations. So I would say contact myself or Amelia or Bill, and let's discuss that a little bit further. But I would highly encourage in identifying a small set of people in your organization that would have the responsibility of this initiative, and certainly go through the CMTP training.
Thank you, Mary. Another question we have, and this may relate more to the IPS, I think. Somebody asks, do you require any of your facilities to comply with any safety regulations or credentialing requirements for certification?
Yeah, I would definitely say that applies more to our International Patient Services Certification Program than CMTP. So like CMTP, there's 9 modules or what we would call competencies. With International Patient Services Certification, there are 17 competencies. There's over 170 standards, and they touch on areas that do relate to quality, safety, regulation. But we always look at that in the context of what's appropriate in that regulatory environment. What are the laws? What are the legalities of certain steps in the medical tourism experience or overall process of care being delivered? Our International Patient Services Certification Program does not specifically question clinical judgment, but we do pay very keen attention to the processes which affect the care being delivered, which ultimately does look at the process steps decided by clinicians and or the backdrop of quality, safety, or regulation in a particular environment.
Mary, can I mention that was also the question about credentialing, and yes, we do in the IPSC have credentialing standards, but I just want to also mention that having done a lot with Mary and Bill on these certifications, is that I think the process itself of an organization reading the standards and getting ready for our survey is very, I think it's team building. I think it strengthens the organization. So I would encourage you to, send questions to Mary and Amelia about the IPSC for organizations. It's a very interesting process.
Thank you, Stephen. Yeah, I would add, and I think it's been very clear in the presentation, but just in case, CMTP is an individual certification, so it's for individuals, not for organizations. And the IPS, International Patient Services, that is for organizations instead of individuals, just so that's clear to everyone. Well, I think we've got about the top of the hour. Maybe just one more, one question here. Somebody asked, will I get a copy of this recording? I think most people are participating would like to know this, of this recording and the presentation for review at a later stage. I think maybe Amelia or Daniel may want to answer this, but I believe it'll be up in the next 48 hours or so, but maybe Amelia, you could confirm. But it's usually up on our website, so you can have access to it again.
Wonderful.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much to everyone participating. On behalf of Stephen, Amelia, Bill, and our entire team at the Medical Tourism Association, please contact us at the emails listed. Amelia at medicaltourismcertification.com, medicaltourismassociation.com, Bill at medicaltourismassociation.com, or myself, Mary, at medicaltourismassociation.com. If you have any additional questions or anything, we'd be happy to help you. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules, and we appreciate your attendance, and consider that part of your commitment towards the overall patient experience for medical tourists around the world.
I'd just like to say I look forward to meeting all of you personally in Malaysia, and thank you, Mary, thank you, Bill, and everybody for the presentation today.
Thank you. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Mary. We thank all the participants today. We wish you a great rest of the day or rest of the evening, wherever you're located. Thank you very much.